What is up, YouTube? Welcome back to the channel. Can you see me? There we go. What's up, YouTube? Welcome back to the channel. So, breaking news, if you will, about an hour and a half ago or so, the House approved, they passed this $25 billion emergency funding for the post office. And, you know, we are in we're in a pandemic. We have a situation where, because of these stay-at-home orders, because of rising cases, because people are afraid to leave their homes, because their government is asking them not to leave, many Americans are staying home. And as a result, the election is looking to shift to, mail. We're just going to be mailing this thing in, literally. So with that, let's phrase this thing properly. First of all, we're going to take a look at Tucker Carlson. I like Tucker. I think he's a good journalist. He's good at what he does. He's entertaining. He's funny. But I want to take a look at this clip because I think this is one of his worst constructed arguments ever. But it's also a result of simply bad messaging by the Democrats. Okay, they're making it extremely difficult for them to be taken seriously because what they've done over the last several years is demonize Donald Trump instead of just simply focusing on ineptitude and failure, which is the best way to go. Let's just keep it about the facts. We don't have to insult someone. You don't have to say somebody's a bad guy or don't do none of that. Just keep it basic. Like, it's very easy. It's very easy to deconstruct this presidency and say this is a failure, but you make it so people are leery of you because you have these situations where we got this Russiagate and we got all of these investigations, and is Trump doing this? Is Trump doing that? When we could just simply say, look, here's what we know. You figure it out. You're smart enough. I trust you to figure. This is very elementary, but that's not what they do. And that's not what they're doing right now. So let's take a look at this. We're just going to give you basic rundown. Like I said, going back, the post office, what is this guy's title? Inspector General. What's his title? Louis DeJoy. What's his title? Yeah, he's the Postmaster General. He basically was asked some questions. He had to do a testimony the other day, and they were asking questions because the presumption is that he is trying to tamper with the election. He's in collusion with the president. And again, we go down this conspiracy theory hole when we could just keep it real. And there are real facts behind this. Namely, people don't really know where this guy came from. He is somebody who's been in logistics, but he doesn't really have ties to the post office. He showed up in June of 2020. He's new on the block, and basically he has an affiliation with Donald Trump because he gave $360,000 to a Trump PAC in, I don't know what year, when Trump was running, whatever year that was. So let me give you this brief synopsis. The vote was 257 to 150 with 26 Republicans joining the Democrats. The Democrats called the rare emergency session in the middle of the summer recess because they contend President Trump and the new Postmaster General Louis DeJoy are trying to sabotage the 2020 election by delaying service that could compromise mail-in ballots during the pandemic. Now, first of all, let's phrase this. There are currently delays at the post office, which is kind of where this all is really coming from. Okay. There really are delays in the post office. In fact, if you look at the actual testimony, you'll see there are people who are saying that they had potential life-saving medication delayed because first-class service had been delayed. And that is the method that Pelosi is trying to make the way for mail-in ballots to be processed. They have to be first class, so it's a little bit expedited. Now, providing additional context, the issue shows up because, when was this? What is the date on this? This is dated August 14th. It says the post office has warned 46 states and the District of Columbia it cannot guarantee all ballots cast by mail for November election will arrive in time to be counted, the Washington Post reported Friday. Voters in several states also complain that some curbside mail collection boxes are being removed. So if you guys have not seen, there's a picture going around the internet showing a bunch of, let's see if we can find it, post off box removal. showing, I think it's maybe 2 or 4 boxes, these blue post office boxes on a truck being removed, and that's kind of where the whole firestorm started up. So this is the photo. You'll see it's 3 post office boxes on the back of this truck. People, actually, I think it's this photo, and people are up in arms because they're like, well, the Democrat establishment, they're up in arms because they're like, whoa, these boxes are on the move. This is an attempt at voter suppression. And again, this is where I say, if we just stick to the facts, we can avoid the picking apart of this ridiculous argument. Because while it probably, there's a legitimate reason to question this, because as I said, there is a connection between DeJoy and Trump, and it's that DeJoy is a Trump voter, or is a Trump supporter financially. He's a Trump financial contributor of nearly $400,000. That he's somebody who's not necessarily, he doesn't really have ties to the post office the way someone who typically has his job does. That could be a way that you could kind of attack him. And instead of saying, let's just jump straight to the suppression, give people the facts. Let them know why you think what you think. Let them know where you're getting this from. It's not just conspiracy theory. It's not just you think that the president is just pure evil. Maybe you think that these guys collude. I mean, Trump did run on this idea that he was going to drain the swamp because there's always connections with these guys, these backroom deals. This is how the government works currently. So this is not a far cry to think that there's some type of relationship where Trump might have had a conversation with this guy, or maybe this guy is just acting in his own best interest. Because another part of this is that this DeJoy character has millions of dollars. I can't find the quote. I know I saw it said somewhere like $30 million, but he has millions of dollars in holdings in logistics companies that may directly compete with the post office. So, you know, your FedExes, maybe your Amazons. So it's not crazy to think that he is either acting in his own best interest or he's acting in the best interest of the president, who would be acting in his best interest. So, like, let's make that connection. You know what I mean? Like, let's really focus on that, because the video I'm going to show you in a bit is Tucker Carlson kind of just breaking this whole thing down, and he makes them seem silly because they can't stick to the actual facts. They just interject all of this opinion and all this possibility and conspiracy, and it's just like, well, this is not that hard to figure out. Like, you're smart enough for this. But basically, DeJoy is he's continuing a practice. It's not a new practice. It's something that they've always done, I guess, going back to 2006 or 5 or something like that, of removing post office boxes that they're in, like, I guess, low volume areas because they've had a drop in mail volume over the last few years. They're also removing or decommissioning these sorting machines. And obviously, if you have mail-in ballots, that's going to increase the volume of mail that's coming in. It's going to be time sensitive. We can't be decommissioning these machines at this particular time. So that's what the argument needs to be. We're about to have an influx in mail. Maybe we should be getting you guys new equipment, or we should not be decommissioning anything right now. We should delay that, which DeJoy, after the light was shed on his potential ties to Trump and all that, he has agreed, you know what, let me delay all this stuff until next year. So to also preface this, we got to give you some additional context. Back in April, the post office requested $75 billion amid the pandemic to recover from a steep droll in mail volume. So, again, in the Carlson clip, you're going to see they're basically going to talk about how, or DeJoy is now coming, his testimony, he's saying, well, the post office isn't needing money. We're good with cash. We're great with cash. Well, that's strange, because in April, you guys were broke. Like, in April, you said you weren't going to make it to 2024, is I believe the date. This is when Postmaster General Megan Brennan, she warned the House Oversight and Reform Committee last year that the post office would run out of cash by 2024 without legislative and legislative reform. But with a sharp drop in volume amid the pandemic. Here, I'll give you guys this. Sorry, guys. There you go. With a sharp drop in mail volume during the pandemic, Brennan told committee members in a virtual briefing Thursday that the USPS will run out of cash this fiscal year without further financial assistance. So these are like facts that I would love for Pelosi and Biden and whoever is trying to get Trump out of the office, you might want to use these things to kind of legitimize your claim. Like, hey, I'm not just saying stuff. Maybe we're saying this. Maybe they're saying they don't need cash. I don't know why, but there are legitimate current mail delays by several weeks. People are concerned about their medications because that's something that does travel through mail currently. And then you have just a few months ago when you guys said you were going to run out of cash this fiscal year. So how are you now all of a sudden flush with cash and you're having delays in mail delivery? And you just told us that you told 46 states that we might not be able to get your ballots in on time. So what is it? You tell me. You're being inconsistent. So that's the issue. That's the real issue. So when you put all of those pieces out, it's very logical to think that something nefarious may actually be going on here because the post office ain't looking too good. Moving on. Trump Saturday tweeted his opposition to funding the post office and linked it to his objections to universal mail-in voting. Vote no to the Pelosi-Schumer money hoax, which is taking place now. Trump tweeted, then fight the $51 million unasked for ballots. Only absentee ballots are acceptable. The Delivering for America Act would prohibit reducing service hours at postal facilities, decommissioning mail sorting machines, and removing community mailboxes. The bill would bar any limits on overtime pay, hiring freezes, delay mail service, and treating mail election as anything less than first mail. To avoid even the appearance of any impact on mail election, DeJoy said he's going to go ahead and suspend these measures until next year. So, or at least until after the election is concluded. So he felt the pressure, right? As he should. So I'm going to go ahead and cue up this clip. 1 second. Oh, that's me. What's up, guys? You don't think that President Trump's statement justifies the claim that changes at the post office are for voter suppression? Nope, not saying that at all. I'm not saying that you don't think that President Trump's statement justifies. I don't think the claim is not justified. I think we should just stick to the facts because if you give someone the facts, the conclusion is clear. You know what I mean? Because again, I'm going to show you this clip. Tucker Carlson, the most watched show in America, apparently. Watch how he breaks this whole thing down because this is what he does, and this is what you have to worry about. He's a popular guy. Let me make this a little bit bigger for you guys.
Read all about this on Facebook or some website whose name you can't remember, but it was all there. Biden was so upset he almost snarfed his Metamucil. He was still ranting about it during a virtual fundraiser on Friday as he told the crowd, quote, "They're going around literally with tractor trailers picking up mailboxes. You ought to go online and check out what they're doing in Oregon. I mean, it's bizarre." Got that? Literally with tractor trailers in Oregon. The funny thing is, Oregon hasn't voted for a Republican in a presidential election in more than 35 years, and it definitely won't this year, mailboxes or not. So it's unclear what exactly Trump might be gaining from taking Oregon's mailboxes.
So let's stop there. First of all, this is not limited to Oregon. So this is what I mean. Tucker, he's reframing this. Like I said, this is one of Tucker Carlson's weakest. I don't know if this is his final segment or what. This is one of his weakest things I've ever seen because he's typically really good at this. This is actually pretty weak. This is not just Oregon. This is a long-standing policy that the post office has been doing for years. They've already removed over 14,000 mailboxes in the past. So this is not something new at all. But that's what the Democrats should be saying. That's what they should start with. This is not a conspiracy. This is what they do. But we're in a pandemic. We need to do something that we don't typically do because we're in a situation we're not typically in. And as a result, maybe we shouldn't be doing that right now. Maybe we should be going to the Commissioner General and saying, hey, I know that's what you normally do, but right now you need to not do that. And as you can see, because of the pressure, he's not doing it. My fear is basically what the Democrats are doing currently isn't rallying support. I think you're just kind of, reaffirming the base. The people who are supporting Trump are just going to support Trump. The people who are supporting Biden are going to support Biden. And the people who are indifferent, this isn't motivating them at all. They know who Donald Trump is, so they don't really care. You're not giving them anything new. And I think you're going to need some of that, because if this mail-in thing, if there's any issues with mail-in voting, well, let me give you this additional context. 70%, there's a YouGov poll from, I believe, June of 2020. 70% of people who support mail-in voting are Biden supporters, compared to 14% of those who support Donald Trump. And then you have, 59% of people who want to vote at the door, compared to 29% of people who support Joe Biden. So that's 2-1 compared to like a total landslide. So clearly the Democrats want mail-in voting, and the Republicans want it to be, you got to actually go down to the polls, because they have people who are more willing to go down there, and that favors Donald Trump. So that's what this divide is. This divide is not anything more than that. It's the same thing. Like, now you're going to see the Democrats consistently running up talking about the death toll and how crazy the pandemic is and all that. That's what this is. Okay, that's what's undergirding this entire argument. So this is really important, but I think we should lead with those facts. Lead with the fact that this is your agenda. Your agenda is to keep people, or to get people to get up and go out and vote, because you know that favors you in the election.
Whatever. It's just...
Oh, and I'm sorry. And also, this isn't about Oregon. This is about the country, because this is nationwide. This isn't just Oregon. That just happens to be where these pictures came out of.
Just wrong. Former Vice President Al Gore, who increasingly looks like a wax effigy of himself, went on CNN the other day to make that point.
By tampering with the Postal Service, he is in effect putting his knee on the neck of American democracy.
Stealing mailboxes, says Al Gore, is nothing less than Trump putting his knee on the neck of democracy. The blood is draining from America's face. We are fast losing consciousness.
You see, that's what I mean. You can make this this legitimate, concern a mockery, and it's pretty easy to do, because you've had so many times where you try to accuse the president of something and you got nothing. You're just saying stuff. People lose faith in, one, their elected officials, which they already have, and two, the media. And how's this message reaching people? Through the media. Like, you got to do better. You know what I mean? You got to know who you're talking to, and clearly they don't. Now, let me move on. 348.
Post thinks that disappearing mailboxes are a major problem. His boss, Nancy Pelosi, agrees with that. But since Pelosi is the Speaker of the House and not a hack reporter at Jeff Bezos' daily newspaper, Pelosi can actually do something about it. That's why she's in charge, and not Phil Rucker. Pelosi announced that she's calling back the Congress from summer vacation to deal with this. Pelosi said it is time for our legislative branch to save democracy from Donald Trump, whom she announced is trying to, quote, sabotage the election by manipulating the Postal Service. By the way, it's not just the election. Trump is also trying to starve old people whom he hates despite being one. With no Postal Service, Pelosi said, seniors may not be able to get their Social Security checks in the mail.
Okay. Oh, I'll let you finish.
Now, Nancy Pelosi is 80 years old, so you'd think she'd know that the government hasn't used the Postal Service to send those checks since 2013.
So, again, I kind of covered this already. This is Pelosi reaching. She's reaching, okay? Because apparently this is not facts, right? Not facts. So, again, what she could have done is stuck to the facts, which are, hey, people do rely on the post office to get the medication, and there are currently significant delays of people waiting for life-saving medication, and they're not able to get it. And you've already told us that you might not be able to deliver all of these ballots by Election Day. You've told 46 states that. You currently have these delays. You were just asking for $75 billion in April. Are you sure that you can handle this job? Like, make me believe that your case is founded on something more than just hatred for the president. Because there's lots of reasons, like lots of legitimate reasons. I mean, these are just little bullet points. You just throw these out at any point. What's our next number? 544.
We have it. Mickey Cheryl is like her own 24-hour news service. And just like CNN, Cheryl didn't bother to check her facts before going on air. By contrast, former National Security Advisor Susan Rice did do some reporting on the subject, and we laud her for that. Rice checked with actress Mia Farrow, and actress Mia Farrow claimed that mailboxes were being removed to disenfranchise Democratic voters, so Susan Rice tweeted that.
See, that's what I mean. The boxes aren't being removed to disenfranchise voters. They're being removed because this is a normal practice. However, because of the pandemic, we should pause that practice. This is an uncommon scenario. Therefore, we should do uncommon things. You can't do that. Okay? You can't do that because you make a people who's been sitting here watching you accuse the president of this and that, and then you come up short and you got no evidence, and then they're like, I don't know if I believe you. In fact, I don't believe you. In fact, I don't trust you. And because I don't trust you, I'm going to stay home. And even if I have the ability to do a write-in ballot, I'm not even going to do that. Like, I'm just not motivated. Like, you're not motivating me.
Susan Rice's tweet was shared by more than 30,000 people. A lot of Americans saw it. Now, it was totally false.
Let me go down. 626.
Stealing America's mailboxes. This is another hoax. It's another lie. It was totally made up in order to manipulate you. The post office moves mailboxes as a matter of course and has for many years. Donald Trump did not order this. It is normal. A 2017 report from the USPS Inspector General, for example, notes that the Postal Service has removed 14,000 mailboxes over the preceding 5 years. This has been going on since at least 2009.
You see, this is the problem with facts, okay? This is the Democrats' problem. They don't like facts. They like to stick to everything else. Just stick to the facts. You can make a very nice narrative by sticking to the facts. Maybe they know these things. Maybe they're just too lazy to put them together. I don't know what the reason is that they leave the stuff out that actually makes your narrative stick together. But you need to be inserting those things because the people I talk to are very, very suspicious of you because you keep making stuff up. Okay? I don't know why you're doing it. I understand you don't like the president. I understand you think he's evil. But if you just give people the facts and let them think for themselves, they're probably going to arrive at a reasonable conclusion. I think that we can all think that Americans are going to do that. Like, they're pretty good at just saying, you know, I don't want to be screwed over. I'm going to take it down to the last part because, like I said, this is one of his weaker arguments. I mean, I shouldn't be able to do this. Tucker Carlson, he's good at what he does. I shouldn't be able to dissect his arguments. But again, the Democrats allowed this to happen. This is the final part. And I just want to let you know, this is how weak this is. Tucker's going to end off his soliloquy by talking about some ridiculous war game scenario that some reporter overheard, and it is about Biden trying to steal the election.
50 states. What would be the effect of that? Well, there would be no way to assure the integrity of the presidential election. Oh, right. That's precisely the point. In July, the Boston Globe described how a group of Biden operatives, including John Podesta, had a secret war game in which they gamed out the presidential election this fall. Here's how the Boston Globe described one scenario in which Podesta took Biden's role. Quote, Mr. Podesta, playing Mr. Biden, shocked the organizers by saying he felt his party wouldn't let him concede. Alleging voter suppression, he persuaded the governors of Wisconsin and Michigan to send pro-Biden electors to the Electoral College. Oh, not crazy. Both Democratic governors. Eventually, in the scenario that Podesta outlined at the War Games, Americans, quote, stopped looking to the media for cues and waited to see what the military would do, end quote. So John Podesta is gaming out how the United States military can put Joe Biden in office. And that tells you a lot about how Democrats are thinking about this election. Making up bizarre stories about how Donald Trump steals mailboxes may be ludicrous. But stories like that make America even more paranoid and fearful than it already is. And that's the point. Stories like this prepare voters for the day that the Democrats call in the generals to make Joe Biden president.
That was one of the most ridiculous. I'm sorry, I'm spinning a lot. That was ridiculous. Tucker, I expect more from you. I understand it's Friday, you're mailing it in. I get it, man. Listen, I understand. You're taking a day off. You got a nice weekend playing with the family. You're not even thinking about the rest of the show. I get it. You should have ended it a long time ago because I don't know what the hell that was. That was awful. But especially because of who we're talking about, right? We're talking about a president who's all about conspiracy theory, who's all about saying ridiculous things, as he does. And I'm going to end this video by letting you know one of the ridiculous things that he said. You pull this up. Your boy Trump, man. This is what Trump does, okay? This is what you get Trump in a corner, and he'll say stuff. This is dated yesterday. Trump says Nancy Pelosi could be president if mail-in ballots delay results. What? This is what he says. This is the kind of things that he says. President Trump on Friday warned a conservative gathering that House Speaker Nancy Pelosi could become president if mail-in voting delays election results. You know, there's a theory that if you don't have it by the end of the year, crazy Nancy Pelosi would become president, Trump told supporters. I don't know if it's a theory or a fact. But I said, that's not good, Trump said. I think it goes into effect either on the 20th or the 1st. And put that in the hopper. Add that to everything else. It's a disgrace. They know it's filthy dirty. The Constitution says the president's term ends January 20th. If the November 3rd election is still unresolved, then there is a fierce legal debate about whether Pelosi would become acting president. Some scholars believe that a succession law is unconstitutional and that the Secretary of State, Mike Pompeo, would be acting president. 9 states and D.C. are sending mail-in, blah, 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 blah. There's also kind of tied to the fact that the numbers would be in limbo, so we don't really know who the majority would be at that time, so maybe it wouldn't even be Pelosi. Either way, these are, again, things the president should not be talking about. Who the hell cares? Like, what? That's what I'm saying. Tucker, you're my guy. You can't end nothing off in support of Donald Trump talking about conspiracy theory when this guy... 100% sure he was on Alex Jones's YouTube channel until the day it was demonetized forever. The guy's wild, man. But that's it. That's all I want to say. That's where we are with the post office. That's where we are with the inspector. I keep calling him Inspector General. I don't know. I think I like that title. Is he the Inspector General? What's his title? Postmaster General. Postmaster. My apologies. I like Inspector General, but yeah, that's where we are with that guy. The bill's been approved. It's going to move on, but you know, Trump says he's going to veto it, and he thinks that this money isn't needed, and that's kind of his narrative. But what would the point be? Like, I want Democratic attacks to actually be based on like the reality. Like, talk about the $75 billion, talk about the Trump ties, talk about the $360 donation to the Trump PAC, talk about how this guy probably really isn't qualified for the job he has, and the fact I could give you the whole rundown. There's a nice article here from I can't think of this. I'll tell you who it is. It's somebody I never heard of. This Salon article talks about where he came from, talks about how he gave $360,000 to Trump, and then he also gave $35,000 to the Senate GOP election committee after his wife was appointed to something of Canada. I can't recall, but nice article in there talking about where this guy came from. But again, he kind of came out of nowhere. He was never, or at least according to the people who were kind of overseeing the appointment of the new Postmaster General, they really didn't think he was a serious candidate, but he somehow rose to this position. And in just a few months, as the post office is going, looks like bankrupt, he's here making cuts as you would normally do. He's making cuts, but mail delivery is slow. It's causing an issue because people really do have concerns about their medicines arriving. But we're about to have an influx of mail because we're looking at having an unprecedented mail-in participation on this election, which favors Joe Biden. That's the issue. Let's keep it about the facts. This is simple. I'm done. So with that said, I'm going to get here. I want to let this video run on too long. If you guys enjoyed this video, make sure you give it a like, subscribe for more, and I will see you guys in the next one.